Hello. Hey, what's up? Some days back, I think a few weeks ago, one of my juniors from college reached out. His name was, I believe, Priyanshu, and he wanted some help with career. He was saying that, sir, I think the future for developers is not that great. I want to switch to PM, product management. Can you help me figure out what's the best way to switch and what route I should take? So I wanted him to refer to my book, which I wrote in 2019. It's called Trapped, Discover Yourself and Reinvent Your Life. But unfortunately, it has been over 5 years I wrote this book and it is kind of outdated now. I wouldn't want to refer any sincere recent college graduates to this book anymore because there's just so much that has happened in the market, in the industry post that, and in my own life, in my own learnings and observations and understandings, which has kind of refined everything that I have. Not everything, I would say 80% of everything that I've written in this book. So in this video, my goal is to break down everything that I wrote in this book, plus my latest learnings, realizations, wisdom, and also the kind of core concepts that we talked about in the last career clarity session that I took, I think 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, some people found it valuable. You may or might not find it valuable, but I'm just, I just thought that I would share whatever I know because some people found it valuable in my last session. Yeah, so yeah, some people found it valuable in my last session, as you can see from the comments, and I thought that instead of writing the book again, I should probably just do a video because from the last book, what I've learned is that there are far more people who are interested to watch videos compared to people who are interested in going through an entire book. So in this video, I'll do my best to condense all my learnings into this video. I don't know how long it will be, but hopefully it would be super valuable and insightful for everyone watching. This is particularly for anyone who is a recent graduate or still in college, figuring out like what steps to take or how to navigate their career decisions, what path to take, what opportunities are out there, how to think about AI in their career roadmap, and especially I would say to answer his question, one of my juniors, he's asking that, hey, I wanted to know, can you share your time at college and can you guide me what you would do if you were today a student at MNNIT, which was my college. So it's weird. It's been 8 years since I have graduated and kind of nostalgic to think about like all the things that I've done and how that has shaped shaped what I'm doing right now. So I'll begin by answering his question first. Quickly to summarize what I did, when I was in college, I entered college with the intention to become a scientist because that's what I thought I will become. When I was in 11th grade and 12th, I really fell in love with science and I wanted to become a scientist. But on my first day of college, I noticed that the first benchers, जो फर्स्ट बेंच में बैठे हुए थे स्टूडेंट्स, दे वर आस्किंग वेरी इंसाइटफुल क्वेश्चंस टू द प्रोफेसर्स एंड those professors shunned them. Basically they were he was like कि यार क्या सवाल पूछ रहे हो, जो पढ़ा रहा हूँ वो पढ़ लो, सिलेबस खत्म करना है. So basically what he meant by that was that he was more focused on finishing the syllabus and curriculum that we had in college, and so he did not really pay attention to the questions that students were interested in asking out of their own curiosity. So that really put me off. So I felt like I'm in the wrong place. This is not the place for students who are interested in research and R&D. So naturally, I was like, yeah, I'll go to the classes, but I'll just take notes and figure out a way to get enough marks to pass my grades. That's it. So that became my entire objective of college. I relied on the toppers and the brightest students to get notes from them and do my best before the exams to clear them. But rest of the time, I focused on experimentation. My entire journey from second year onwards began. I was focused on figuring out my strengths, figuring out different skill sets, different areas, and figuring out where is it that I can do a great job, or where is it that my interest lies, and where I can, what is it that I can do well, and what are my strengths, weaknesses, limitations, etc. That's what I wanted to figure out basically. So my college time was mostly based on focused on experimentation. Everything that I did was based on experimentation. Along with that, I also focused on figuring out how can I use the college resources to the fullest in order to benefit the college and also develop, help me develop skills and experiences along the way. So for instance, I pushed for the initiation of TEDx MNNIT. I was the founding member of the entrepreneurship cell, MNNIT. I was also the founding member of the alumni student body. Later, we launched a full-fledged web portal, but after that there was some internal politics, because of which I think the college then decided to take lead on that as well. So I was involved in pretty much all the I would say all the innovative or entrepreneurial clubs and societies in the college. I was less focused on Avishkar and all these cultural fests, but I was more involved in anything that was innovation focused or entrepreneurial, or something that was about spreading like ideas or wisdom and all of that, and also reducing the gap between the alumni and the students. So that was how I spent my time in college. Also, I believe, I also during this time, I also focused a lot on networking. I would say relationship building with people inside the college as well as outside the college. So that's something that you will find also in my book. There is a chapter called Support System, and I talked about it on one of these chapters, and I'll come to that later. So basically, when we were conducting these events and conferences in the college, I was the networking lead. So I was in charge of figuring out who to invite, how to invite, and when to invite. So naturally, I began developing these sort of connections and relationships across India. And that really helped me a lot later on. But that's also something that I did actively in college. Now, the second part of your question, if you could guide me what you would do if you were today a student at MNIT, my approach would still be the same, which was also back then it was to focus on experimentation and to figure out my strengths and talents and limitations. But there are some things that you cannot really learn while being in the college. So for instance, in college you might take up a particular activity, and you might do really well at that, but when you come out of college you may fail at that, because in college everyone is receptive, you are given resources, and you find it easy to execute. But when you come out of college, everyone is independent, they have their own choices, they have their own money, they have their own decision-making power. So it's less easier, because everyone is now a free entity compared to how they were back in college. So what you learn inside of college with your peers may or may not apply to you outside of college. So things like these cannot be learned while you are in college. They have to be experienced over and over again. But what you can definitely start understanding in college is like a path or a map, so to speak. So you can start figuring out like what are the key areas or things in which you excel at. For instance, for me, it was around people. I used to conduct a lot of these events, right? So I used to deal with people a lot, from professors, coordinators, to student bodies, to alumni body, to speakers, and so on. Like I was basically I was the focus of attention when it comes to people management. So I was naturally very good with people, uh, but yeah. So yeah, these are some of the things that you can start learning while in college. But like I said, it may or may not apply to the same situations. The same context may not apply to uh, something else when you try it after graduating from college. So yeah, that's what I would say. But what would you do if you were today a student at MNIT? I think the experimentation part would remain the same. The relationship building, the networking part would remain the same. Um, what would probably change is that I would probably think about building a business right from college itself. I think while being in college, we think that we need experience and we need to work under someone to gain valuable skills and valuable knowledge, and that we can't do it without that. But I don't think that's true. In today's age and time, I think everyone can figure out anything that they want to. So I think if I was in college, I would, instead of figuring out how to get a good job, I would figure out. I was not hell bent on getting a good job. I was actually, like I said, in experimentation mode. But if I were in college today, I would definitely figure out like how to um, yeah, either build a business on the internet. Either I would do that, or I would pick up like a few skills, one or two skills that I can start servicing across the globe right away. So there are platforms, freelance platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, and you can start earning money and growing your skills over there. So I would take either of the two paths. I think I wouldn't chase jobs for sure, because the job market right now, it's going through like these rapid or major transitions, which is very unpredictable. And what you need right now, the most important thing that you need right now is experience, right? What you need is experience. And experience in the field where you can uniquely apply your strengths and talents. But how do you know that? Like, first, that's where experimentation comes in. So I would use the college landscape to experiment and figure out what my strengths and talents are, and then use those strengths and talents to either start a business or start freelancing and start servicing on the internet through different platforms across the globe. So yeah, that's what I would do. So yeah, now coming back to the a quick condensed version of my thought process behind this book, and the session that we had last week. I think this would apply to anyone who is a recent graduate or still in college trying to figure out like what to do with their lives. I don't claim that I have everything figured out, but what I can definitely say with certainty is that I know like what I was born to do now in life. I know the best ways to spend my time. I know the things that bring me joy. I know the things that will get me money. I know the things that I should focus on. I know the things that I should ignore. I know the things, I know how to attract attention in the market. I know how to attract money in the market. I know, I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now, but that's certainly not the end destination where I want to be. That being said, I can relate to my 8-year former self when I was right out of college, just graduated from college. And I was, very clueless and lost. I did not really know what I was born for, had no sense of purpose or direction, and was very clueless, to be honest. I just had a big, fat passion and desire. I was very driven from the very start. I was not like other people who just wanted a paycheck and a comfortable lifestyle. I always wanted to keep growing, keep pushing myself, and keep working outside of my comfort zone, keep learning new things. I think that's the thing that I learned, that I enjoy the most, learning new things. So yeah, I will try to give you like a good updated version of this book in this call itself. Let me see the chapters. Maybe I will rewrite the book one day when I'm more inspired. But I just know the market for self-awareness is extremely low. It's not worth my effort to rewrite a book on self-awareness. So I will use this video as a platform and as the medium to share my ideas on this subject. But before that, I will just go through the chapters that I have in this book. So these are some of the interviews that I did. Some of the people who were like well accomplished in their lives. I interviewed them, and then I also interviewed people from different walks of life, like different professions. So someone is a chef, someone is a scientist, someone was working at a startup. This guy now is at Google. These were started their careers from MNCs. He's a musician. So yeah, different people from different walks of life. And then so that part, the interview part, is the part B. And then the part A is basically whatever I learned in college and my ideas. But even these ideas are, I would say, kind of kindergarten now compared to what I've learned and what I've realized. So this part of the video is going to be like the super, super meaty part. So pay close attention from this part onwards, because I'm going to be talking about some things that I've learned over 8 years. So let's see, exposure, right? Part A, chapter 1, exposure. And exposure, curiosity and agenda. I'll talk about these two, this entire chapter in a few lines or in a few words. We think that we are in control. We think that we're in control of our choices, but that's not true. And I'll explain this with an example. So let's say if you are in college and there are 20 people around you, and you go to the mess, you go outside of the mess, you go to the stadium, you go to the classes, and you keep hearing everyone talk about 3 or 4 things. Maybe these 3 or 4 things are A, B, C, D. You keep hearing A, B, C, D over and over again. In the mess, outside the mess, in the stadium, in the playground, in the washroom, in the classroom, everywhere you're just hearing about A, B, C, D. Naturally, in the second day or in the third day, in the fourth day, your mind will keep talking to you about ABCD. That's all you're going to think about. So, that's what exposure does to you. Whatever you're exposed to, you will eventually become that. You will start thinking about that. You will start doing that. Your actions, your behaviors, everything will translate into whatever you're exposed to. So if you know that a person is exposed to XYZ, you can basically predict his future. You can tell that, okay, this person just consumes this type of content. So that's what this person is basically. Now, when we were a child, we were governed by curiosity. There was something called inherent curiosity, which was very high in me since childhood. And for some reason, by some God's grace, I was able to retain that curiosity even now till this today's day and age. I'm still extremely curious. So if you are that sort of a person, if you are curious, if you find some things interesting, then it's a no-brainer to sort of pursue those curiosity. But oftentimes what happens is that we are very focused on the outcome. We are very focused on what we are going to get from that. So, for instance, let's say someone says that I want to become like a CEO, which was like my ambition, let's say back in the day. I want to start a startup. I want to become a CEO. Now, a sincere intention behind becoming a CEO or becoming a founder or starting a business could be that there's a problem that you have identified, that you're really passionate about solving, that you're committed to solve, and you really enjoy the different specific activities, the day-to-day operations of running a business, and you really enjoy the uncertainty and the adventure and the living on the edge and the risk-taking and the stress and the unpredictability and taking slaps from everyone. If that's sort of a lifestyle really is something that you're into, that you feel like that you're interested in, and that problem really motivates you to pursue it at no matter what cost, then becoming a CEO and becoming a founder might be the path for you. But what often happens is that we want to become the CEO or the founder because we want to raise our status in the society by thinking about glorious pictures in our mind, images in our mind about ourselves, like how will it feel when in the newspaper, in the article, it says it says your name as the CEO, that hey, so and so Rajat, founder and CEO of XYZ startup, raised $2 million in funding. How will it feel when the newspaper talks about me, everyone in the internet talks about me? How will it feel when I raise crores and crores of $1 million in funding, and so on? Those sort of images fill our mind. And as a result, what happens is that our intention is not pure behind that. So when the intention is not pure, when the intention is not sincere, then the results do not happen. Then we are not successful in that activity. So what really matters is that if you go back to your childhood era, when you were a child, these sort of images would not really fit you. You would really figure out, or you really pursue things for your own joy, like things that you were naturally curious about, the things that you wanted to explore and dive deeper. You would just go towards those paths. But as we grew older, these sort of images fill our mind with respect to the outcome and what we are going to get from that activity. So as a result, we end up basically chasing, but we don't really get the fruits from it because our journey or the intention behind it was not sincere or pure. So this is why curiosity is very important. And I also told you the type of curiosity that matters. This part is largely irrelevant. Developing agenda happens way later, once you have figured out your talents, how you are uniquely positioned to use those talents, and what's your unique place in the world, what can you be uniquely irreplaceable at, and all of that. This part is, I would say, largely irrelevant. So whatever I've said in exposure, that's what matters. This I wouldn't talk a lot about this part. One thing that I would say is that in how to stay motivated and hacking happiness, I think the one thing that I would say is that I would definitely not listen to anyone else. other than my own internal compass. So that's because of the same exposure point that I talked about. So let's say you uh, you hear 10 different people talk about 10 different things, you will obviously not be motivated. You will obviously not be happy, because you will enter into more confusion, and you will basically spiral down. So I would just develop like an internal compass so strong that is rooted in my own curiosity and my own internal direction, rather than what people around me are doing and what the world and society is doing, what my parents and what my peer group is saying, and all of that. That is extremely important for this part. But other than that, whatever I've said in curiosity and figuring out like what direction to take, I think that's the thing that I would like to emphasize on. Moving on to self-awareness. In this, I would just like to say that this is something that I talked about in the last session also. But the most important thing to understand in this chapter is that everyone is born to do something. Everyone has these unique gifts and talents that they are uniquely capable of yielding. And I will explain this concept. Let's say there are 5 people, okay? And I take these 5 people to watch a movie, okay? Each of these 5 individuals will pay attention to 5 different things in the movie. None of them will pay as much attention to the same things. That's because every one of them is wired differently. So for instance, out of the 5 people, one of them could pay attention to how the female characters in the movie, how well dressed they were, or what kind of makeup they were wearing, or what kind of dresses they were wearing. The other guy could probably pay attention to the storyline or the narrative. The third person could pay attention to, let's say, the SFX, or the sound effects and the music and the melody and the songs and so on. The fourth guy could pay attention to, the graphics and the visuals and the animation and all of that. So as you can see, like all of these 5 people, they are watching the same thing, but all of them are paying attention to different things. That's because there is something inside of you which is unique for everyone. And I know this because in my family, for instance, when I go out with my brother, he would often watch different things. I would often watch different things. But the thing to note here is that there are certain patterns that will emerge in your journey. So for instance, my brother would often comment on anything that is related to design. So for instance, this logo of the hotel sucks. Like, I could do a much better design of the hotel's logo. Or he would often comment on the design of my mobile cover, for instance, and he would keep commenting on the design and aesthetics of my stuff and the world around him. At the same time, he's working as a software developer. So as you can see, that is a I wouldn't want to call it wrong choice, but that is the path to misery, because he's forcing himself to do something which does not come natural to him. So if you want to be happy and you also want to make money, if you want both of these conditions to be fulfilled, then you have to choose something which comes naturally to you, which comes easy to you. And the way to figure that out is to understand and go through these patterns, and these patterns emerge over time. It emerges when you least expect it. Like, you don't force yourself to do it, but it just happens. Like, it's just effortless attention that goes into these different areas of life, and then over a period of time you observe yourself, and you just in hindsight you will just think that, I keep thinking about these things, or I keep imagining this, or I keep focusing my attention on these things. Maybe there's something here to think about. Maybe there's something here to reflect on. That's how we know what we were born for. So for me, it's like I subconsciously study humans. I subconsciously study what influences human behavior. I subconsciously study what engages people. I subconsciously study what makes people tick and what does not make people tick, or what puts people off. So that's why I'm in marketing, and that's why it's like effortless for me, because it comes so easy for me. I don't have to, uh, yeah. So anyway, I hope you got the sense of this chapter, self-awareness. This is what I meant by that. Ignore everything else. Ignore ikigai. Ignore all of everything else at this point. Just focus on this talent, figuring out what you were born for. Like what is your talent? What is your gift from the nature? What is your gift from God? That is something I would emphasize on, that you should focus on. So everything else, I think, core principles of Lime, all this is pretty much bullshit. Golden circle, all this, being good at something, I'll come to this later. Being special, just focus on what I've said so far on self-awareness. Everything else you can ignore. Experiment. Now comes experiment. This part is important. So now once you know your curiosity, like what you are internally curious about, once you know where your attention, where your energy, where your effort naturally deviates towards, then it's time to experiment. Then it's time to figure out, how can I utilize some of my interests and passions and talents to create something real in the world. By creating, I mean something of value. So for instance, let's say I found out for myself that my attention naturally deviates towards design. Like for instance, if I were to think of myself as someone who would always notice like signboards of hotels, aesthetics of, how my bag is designed, or the board behind the board in front of the bank, or whatever, like, then I would figure out, okay, what is it that I am, what is it that I can design, and I can also get like a real feedback or validation from the market. So for instance, I would notice, let's say, I would go out and see, is there any business on the market which has like a very shitty logo? And then I would walk up to that business person and say that, hey, your logo doesn't seem that great. Would it be fine if I can redo your logo for free? And I would do it for that person. I would show it to that person and I would get feedback from him that, hey, I did this. Do you like it? What do you think about this? And so on. I would repeat and do the same thing for 10 other businesses. And then by then I would know that, where I stand in that particular skill or that particular talent. Because it might be true that, let's say you really enjoy doing something, or you're curious about something, but it may not really pay you that well. So there has to be both the variables has to be satisfied, which is one. It's also something that has to come easy to you, and B, it also has to be able to pay you, right? So it might be possible that you find something that you enjoy doing that comes easy to you, but it may not really pay you. For instance, you might say that, hey, I really like sleeping. Now it's tough for me to tell you that how are you going to validate ways to make money through sleeping, because there are limited opportunities. There are some mattress companies that pays you for sleeping on their mattresses, but I don't know anything beyond that. There might be some creative ways to test it beyond it, but I haven't come across any opportunities for sleeping. But there might be some people, for instance, sleeping is a huge market, but I'm talking about specifically you as a person who likes to sleep, rather than catering to the market, sleeping market. So there are people who have trouble falling asleep. So you can make maybe meditation sounds, or stories for sleep, but that's not the same as you sleeping. So if your passion or interest is in sleeping, there are limited opportunities for that. unless you find like a really, really creative way to beat around it. But so this is why both the things matter. Where your talent and where your passion lies, but also where the market is willing to pay you for. So I gave you an example for designing. I can also give you an example for writing. For instance, I can just see anything that sounds off on the internet. It could be, something that is written on the website of a business. It could be that like a founder or a CEO sent out an email to me, and I think that I can do a much better job at writing that email. I would definitely do it, and that's how I will keep basically doing more and more, getting experience and building my own portfolio. So that's what I would do in experiment. And then the eventual goal of these experiments is to figure out that where is it that I am like really, really good? Where is my contribution, or where is my impact? So for instance, you might feel that you are great at designing, but if the market feels that you suck, then they're not going to give you money for it. So it matters. Both the things matters. What you're good at, what you think you're good at, but also what the market feels that you're good at. And the market's credibility is given to you not by their words, but by the fact that they're willing to pay you for it. If they're willing to pay you for it, it means that there is value in what you're doing. So yeah, if they just say that, hey, well done, good job, then that's not good enough. You have to figure out a way to validate it with your money, cold hard cash, as they call it. So keep repeating this until you get to a point where you have repeated validation from the market, repeated money earned from the market for different skills. In this age, in this day and age, obviously, whatever you do, the skill that you perform, you have to figure out the best way to use AI. But I will come to AI at the very end, because that's basically leverage, right? That's not figuring out what you're great at. If everyone can use AI, then that's like the lowest common denominator, but that's not what will set you apart. What will set you apart is your own talent, your own unique curiosity and edge, and that can only come from experimentation. That cannot come from anywhere else. So yeah. And then coming to the next chapter, connecting the dots. This is basically the same thing that I talked about previously, which is once you experiment, you will see the dots connecting. You will see that 10 businesses liked your skill in design, or 8 businesses liked your skill in writing, and but your writing job pays you less, your design skill pays you more. But you might then figure out that, okay, this type of writing pays less, but maybe I can write for B2B SaaS companies and that pays more. Then you can try experimenting more on that. And then by doing all of these experiments, you'll figure out, okay, this is a niche, or this is a segment which pays me well and which I also genuinely enjoy doing. That is the niche that you have to double down on. So that is what I refer to here as connecting the dots. That's how you link all these patterns and figure out what to double down on. And then lastly, support system. This is basically, staying in touch with mentors, staying in touch with people who you respect, who you admire, who you are inspired by, reaching out to them and asking for guidance, asking for their time. Basically, whatever smart and capable and sincere and motivated students are already doing on the internet, doing more of that and building basically relationships. Support system, I don't know. I think I talked about support system in tandem with building relationships, but I'll tell you briefly about this. Relationships are mostly like a two-way street. You cannot expect just to extract things from people. You also have to be a provider in the relationship. So for instance, if you're always asking something from someone, That person may respond to you once, but that person definitely won't respond to you, again and again. So you have to figure out a way to maintain that relationship by becoming valuable and becoming a giver and valuing that relationship if you genuinely value it. But being genuine, I would say, is the most important in every relationship. Like, if you try to establish a relationship with someone just to gain something from them, they'll sense it. They'll sense the ulterior motive, and they will not basically connect with you at a deeper level. So my recommendation would be to just be honest about the people that you admire and look up to, and see if they're willing to help you. But even before that, people who are busy, they don't like to just waste their time. They're very selective about like where they spend their time, how they spend it, who they spend it with. They're not going to randomly give away their time unless you stand out like as like a different sort of a person. So it could be difference in the way you communicate. It could be difference in the way you ask for their time. It could be difference in the way you show how well you know them. It could be difference in the way, it needs to be something different than everyone else. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like everyone else, and they're not going to be interested. And then also, you can also see like whether there are like any common connection, common ground. So for instance, if someone from Motilal or my college reaches out to me, I'm obviously more likely to respond compared to any stranger from a third party college that I'm not aware of. So even if it's like someone from Harvard or Stanford, right? I'm not affiliated to Stanford or Harvard. So I am less likely to respond to someone from those colleges, even if these are elite colleges. I'm less likely to do so because there's no common connection, there's no common ground. So yeah, establish like common grounds, common connection points, and if you can find some, then you can always try and reach out to them respectfully and see if they're willing to help you in some way. But like I said, it's a two-way street. You also have to figure out like how are you going to maintain that relationship, and also offer them some value. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's about it. Words of wisdom was the interviews part that I talked about. So yeah, this turned out to be like a really, really long video, and I hope this helps at least some of you. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, bye, take care, have a nice day.